I was very lucky to be able to go to Wiltshire for a few days and go to see the fabulous Stanton Stone Circle, which I've never seen before. So for me this was a real delight. And here we've got some signs saying about what it is and why it's here. And I was surprised at how gigantic it was. As you can see, it's got the Great Circle, the Southwest Circle we couldn't get to, that was actually fenced off. But I went up to the Northeast Circle, which you'll have seen in my previous video if you watched it. That's where the snake-like, dragon-like stones come up from. And it's got the history of the petrified dancers. So on a Saturday night long ago, a wedding dance partied in this meadow. When midnight came, the music stopped because the fiddler didn't want to perform on a Sunday. A handsome replacement started playing instead, and it was the devil in disguise. And the devil played faster and faster, and the dancers and the musicians were all turned to stone. There's a lot of stories of the stones being turned into, or stones are what were naughty people dancing on the Sabbath being turned into stone. Or there's normally the story it's the witches dancing with for the devil being turned into stone. And then there's, like, for example, at Royston Vasey, no, that's the comedian, at the Rollright Stones, they are said to be the king and his knights turned to stone. And this is one of the stones that I think looks like a snake, or was, or a dragon coming through. It's the energy coming up from the earth, maybe the ley lines possibly, or the energy lines. And one can read lots of books on the different energy lines that are said to go around the earth. You know, some people call it the dragon lines, like they do in feng shui. And I've noticed that this stone circle at Stanton, many of them seem to look like dragons or snakes, you know, protruding from the ground, raising up. It's like that earth energy's trying to come through. And I've said before, I myself think the standing stones and stone circles did come from the ground, like crop circles are said to come up from the ground and appear. So there's many different theories on what that is as well. Who makes the crop circles? Whether it's the little people or aliens, none of us know, because none of us have seen who's done it. But these stones, which are definitely become more eroded and rotting away, it's a horrible way to say it, but they're definitely weather worn. And I really felt this energy of dancing, happiness, joy. But I've been reading Ari Forreston's books, and he talks about how these stone circles were made to keep the dark forces inside, like there's demons or jinn or something imprisoned inside them. And I've heard this theory before, and I did wonder if that's why stone circles are where they are. Maybe in the past the ancients were able to capture whatever was running around the grounds, doing the dark forces, doing evil things, and they've captured it, put it inside the ground, and then imprisoned it with these quartz stones to have the energy so it keeps it in. But I, like many of you, do love going to a stone circle. We can feel quite energized by it. And one of my thoughts was that, you know, demons are supposedly telepathic and can perhaps make us feel that way when they're trying to get us to come. They want our energy, so they're going to tempt us to come here. Instead of making it a dark place, they'll try and probably fill it with some kind of false light to make us go to them. And then they can either feed off us, or maybe they hope that we would have the spell that could release them from the stone circles if they are in fact trapped in there. And in some stone circles, and just standing stones around the country, there are carvings on them. Some of them are like wavy lines, some of them are depicting what could be a snake or a dragon, which again would be representing the dark forces. And maybe that was the ancients telling us, here lies, here be dragons hidden away underneath, imprisoned in the earth in some way, being surrounded by these usually quartz type of stones. Well, most stones have some kind of quartz in them, which would create some kind of perhaps magical, energetic field. Some of these stones are just humongous, though. They're just huge. But I can sometimes see faces in stones, and I noticed when I went to Avery in the same week, a lot of the stones seem to be looking like horses that time, so there may have been a lot of horse energy there. When I've gone there on other times, I've seen other things. I know I've seen what looks like a hare in one of the stones, and sometimes I can make out people's faces. In these ones it seemed more like they had little doorways into the stones itself, perhaps down into the elemental world. I don't know how to read solar alignments and lunar alignments to see where the stones are lined up for solstices and equinoxes and such like, but I have seen proof that these things do happen, that these stones circles are normally aligned to some kind of either star system or the solstices. And I was doing a lot of shadow watching, which at the time I wasn't taking photos of, so I can't show you too many pictures of how the shadow falls. Like for this example, there was a lot of, in this part, in the northwest circle, stone dragon serpent type creatures coming out of the stones, they seem to be, or were they carved in there, or did they pick these stones especially because they did look like raising dragon heads or snake heads? Or maybe they're dragons and snakes to protect that land, like guardians. But I found it interesting at this stone circle there was a lot of flat ones, flat, not very high stones. Have they eroded away? Are they fallen over ones? Or is that what they were put there like that? Were they put there in specific stones in a certain position for a specific reason that we no longer understand? And the cut marks, are they natural, like marks that come from the rain or the winds or the weather, or have they been put there? I was trying to work out if at Stanton Drew it was alternate full standing up stones mixed with flat stones. It was interesting to see all the moss that had been growing on the various ones. So I was saying I had this thought about how, maybe these megalithic structures have a connection to demonology, and that these sites were perhaps imprisoning demons, jinn, dark forces, whatever, containing it underground with this granite quartz megalithic prison. Now, as I was telling you, R.A. Forreston confirmed this for me in his book Transforming Demons, when we'll come to that bit about Silbury Hill in a minute, but demonic beings can send out these thought forms which one can pick up, be deceived by, making us believe that stone circles are good things. Which I do think that stone circles are good for us. We can feel the magnetic forces in them. They vary with the sun and the moon, and then as the moon is at new moon, they're quite lower, the energetic fields around them, and they build up towards the full moon to full power, and then stop, like the moon does, wane back down. But it is magnificent seeing a stone circle in the moonlight. That really is such a magical feeling. You can understand why people went out to see them in the olden days and perhaps got mistaken for being witches. So R.A. Forreston writes about Silbury Hill in his book Transforming Demons, and he says that 5,000 years ago a fierce demon haunted the lands of Wiltshire, killing people, animals and innocent children, and destroying homes, leaving farms in ruins. And the people needed to do something, so they called a wizard forth and got him to use his magical powers, and he came and fought the demon with his powers. The fight went on for 3 years of magic. But finally the wizard was able to capture the demon in spiritual chains with the help of spells, knowledge, special stones and material that he had brought from his home region, which was in Wales. The powers of the demon were thus imprisoned for eternity. To be sure that no person could free this monster, the wizard ordered the people to cover the demon, along with the stones and material that he had brought from his homelands, with as much soil as possible. And this is what has become known today as Silbury Hill. Nevertheless, although trapped, the demon is alive, wanting to be free, longing for the day it can re-enter the world of the living, the world of humans, to taste blood again. It can be felt stirring in the depths of the hills, or the depths of the hill, Silbury Hill. So, it can be a bit concerning, all of us people loving Silbury Hill. Maybe it is holding a demon within it. And then there's West Kennet Long Barrow. Here I am outside it. And I've always found it quite an intimidating place. I've been here many times, and there's not been any time where I've not felt a little bit of fear inside me. I love going into it. I get all excited. I'm looking forward to going up here, and you can see it's huge stones on the outside. I start walking into the darkness. And I'm all fine walking through the entrance. And I get to about halfway, and I always suddenly feel just a wave of fear comes over me until I get to the back. So we're going into the darkness, into the darkness, into the darkness of it. And then I feel better. So it's just through the first bit, the middle bit I find is a bit fearsome. But what must it have done for the ancients in the olden days? How they must have felt coming in here. You know, we don't really know what it was for. Was it to connect with the ancestors? Was it to be some kind of initiation ritual, which I kind of feel it is more. I don't think it was a burial site, but it is weird that it's such a long barrow, but the inside bit is very small, and then the barrow goes on for a long time behind it, which would be apparently full of soil and grass and such things. But to go in there is like an initiation ritual. Isn't it amazing? And I do recommend to people, do go and have a look at these things. I was seeing all kinds of things in the stones this time. A few lion heads. I don't know if I managed to make it come out on the film. But thank you for watching. Enjoy the megaliths. Watch out for the demons.